What's going on, Barefoot crew? Back with yet another Barefoot shoe review, bringing all of the views of the Florida ponds behind us today for a good reason. We have an epic outdoor shoe from Bahe. This is their Revive Barefoot style runner, and yeah, let's get into it. Before we jump into the rest of this review, if you do plan on grabbing yourself a pair of Bahe Revives or any of the other shoes that Bahe offers, then you can use my discount code BarefootWill, no spaces, at checkout to get a 10% discount when you order your shoes. So first things first, as always, and that is aesthetics. Now, to me, this shoe looks good, doesn't look great. I think that has a lot to do with the colorway specifically that they sent me. However, I did choose to go with this colorway amongst just a couple of other limited choices. They weren't in stock with all of their new colorways, but they did have this one in stock. And to me, the green colorway provides a little bit of context as far as like what this shoe is capable of and how I'm using the shoe, and that is mostly outdoors. With that being said, the look of the shoe has definitely grown on me. It's the green colorway that I'm just personally not a big green shoe wearing guy. I'm typically like a white on white, white and gray, plain black, you know, the plain stuff. So going with the green was a little bit of a leap for me, but I'm very happy that I did, because to me it fits the brand very well. Aside from the color itself, it does look pretty good. I mean, it looks like your average kind of sneaker type of shoe. It's not something that you would see on the store shelf and immediately be drawn to the eye. It definitely doesn't have the Barefoot look to it, in my opinion. It's not a bad looking shoe. I really do like how they included the mesh material with the little bit of kind of the rubberization around the edges of the shoe. Not only does it add to the look of the shoe, but it does have a nice practical application. This is an outdoor shoe, so you do want a little bit of protection from the water that's typically flying up into the front of the shoe and that kind of hooks on the back end of the heel. And to me, I've never really had a problem with water entering this shoe. So I've tested this shoe in multiple different situations, terrains, patterns, and I've actually taken this shoe to the gym, onto the golf course, which is probably my favorite setting for this shoe, and we'll dive into that. I've taken it on runs on pavement, and I've also taken it on some trails, just walking and doing a little bit of running. And it has handled all of those terrains very, very well. Now, the marketed use of this shoe is a Barefoot style running shoe. So you are going to have a 2.5 millimeter thick lug on the sole with a 4 millimeter thick outsole. This is also combined with a 3 millimeter insole, which we're going to get into the depth of the insole here in just a moment. A total stack height somewhere around the 14 millimeter mark. And the stack height of this shoe is definitely one of my favorite aspects of this shoe. Now, with any type of running shoe, you do want to have a little bit more additional stack height or cushion, whatever you want to call it. It is going to come in that zero drop platform, so the heel is going to be at the same height as the forefoot and the toes. However, you do have just a little bit more cushioning to give you that reduced blow when you are hiking, maybe on a little bit more rocky trail, or when you have to transition over to asphalt. Of course, this shoe has got all the typical features of a minimalist Barefoot style shoe, which is the zero drop platform, the very flexible sole, and a nice roomy toe box. Now, I alluded to the golf situation. I have tested an array of Barefoot shoes on the golf course, and nothing at all has come close to the feel of wearing this shoe on the golf course, which is not exactly what Bahe's intention was with this shoe, but I think they hit the target with the perfect Barefoot style golf shoe. And the reason being is, with that added stack height, with the protection of the water barrier on the toe and the rear, with that 2.5 deep thick lug on the sole, it provides just the right amount of grip, just the right amount of low base of support, low center of gravity, and just overall comfort when you're walking 18 holes. That does tend to add up onto the feet. And to me, just that little bit of stack height and cushion does carry you a little bit more comfortably through 18 holes of golf. I find myself like really wanting to go play golf just so I can put these shoes back on, just because the last time that I did play golf, I was wearing these shoes and I had a really good round. So maybe these are just my lucky golf shoes. Now, don't let the 10mm stack height fool you. It is plenty flexible, especially where it needs to be. It does have a little bit of nice rigidity at the heel, which is awesome for getting the shoe on, getting the shoe off, and for that little bit of lateral support where you need it when you're running or, like I said, on the golf course. This shoe does have a detached tongue, so it is not a sock style fit shoe, which if you are a higher volume foot person, then this shoe would do a great job of accepting that little bit of added height in comparison to most other barefoot shoes that are maybe that sock style fit. It's got just enough ground feel to where I can feel what my foot and ankle needs to do with each stride that I take. But if I am going to hit a harsh rock underneath my foot, the sole accepts it really well. Now, the price point on this shoe is a little bit higher. It's sitting somewhere around the $200 mark. Now, you can get this shoe for a little bit less if you use my discount code. It's Barefoot Will, no spaces. You just plug that in at checkout and you'll get that 10% off. However, I think the price is justified because of the added technology of the grounded technology and just the overall quality of the shoe, the durability of the shoe. To me, the price is justified, but it is a little bit more than some of the cheaper end barefoot shoes. But with this shoe, I think you pay for the quality that you get. Now for the most interesting aspect of this shoe is its grounding capabilities. If you're unfamiliar with the grounding process or the earthing process, that just means that you're allowing the electron exchange between your body and the earth to happen. Now, if you're unfamiliar with grounding itself, I do suggest you do a little bit of additional research. We'll talk about that topic in a different video. However, this shoe does come with the capability to ground the body, and it is a little bit different in the grounding technology that is used for this shoe that you would see with most other grounded barefoot style shoes. This shoe specifically does not use a copper rivet style plug in the sole. Instead, you can see that there's this one green lug here that does have conductive capabilities and runs all the way through into the sole of the shoe, into the insole. Now let's take a look at the bottom of the insole. You can see that this weaving, this stitching here on the sole of the insole itself has this weaving that if you flip over to the opposite side, continues its way through the rest of the insole. Now this is the part that is going to touch the sole of your foot. Now with this conductive material, if you are completely barefoot inside of the shoe, then you will definitely get that grounding effect. If you are wearing a organic cotton sock, like I'm wearing my Merrow organic cotton socks, you can still get most of the grounding capabilities. But if you're wearing a toe sock or a regular sock that has more of that polyester or artificial type of composition, then those type of materials do act as a barrier to conduction. So that will reduce the shoe's capability to elicit that electron exchange that you're trying to get by wearing this shoe itself. Now, grounding shoes have become extremely popular over the last couple of years. I just spoke at a conference where Bahe actually sent a pair of shoes to give away at the conference. And I was doing a little bit of speaking there on foundational health. And what I noticed is that the topic of grounding shoes came up repeatedly. There was more and more people with the interest of grounding. Of course, this was a more of like a Christian health conference where people are a little bit more health conscious. They're a little bit more aware of the benefits of grounding. But I think the grounding technology world for minimalist style shoes is going to become a lot more abundant within the next couple of years. I see a lot of the mainstream brands, even Vivo has come out with a grounded boot. And to me, Bahe was probably one of the first shoe companies that are in the minimalist category that is doing a grounding component well and differently, especially with the conductive lug going into the insole. To me, I really love the fact that I can be inside of a shoe getting all the benefits of grounding without actually having to, be completely barefoot. Because there are definitely some settings where you definitely don't want to be completely barefoot just to get the benefits of the electron exchange. So this shoe will provide that, protection from all the nasty elements while eliciting that grounding response. As always, the toe box is going to be the most important. Most important. As always, the toe box is going to be the most important aspect of any minimalist style shoe, or any shoe for that matter. And this shoe definitely has an acceptably roomy toe box. I don't feel much restriction at all. I do notice that there is maybe just a little bit of taper visually to the shoe, but I don't feel that, especially on the big side. I just don't feel any restriction there, which is nice. And the pinky toe side, got plenty of room for the toe to spread out and splay there. I haven't felt any type of restriction in the toe box at all. So this is definitely a Barefoot Will certified perfectly good toe box. Going into a little bit more depth into the sole, the lugs on this shoe, I kind of underestimated their capability to create as much traction as they did. To me, I just didn't expect it to be as grippy as it is. I would have no hesitation to continue to take these on some hikes, especially on maybe a little bit slicker rock after a rain type of hike. I would not hesitate to throw these shoes on. And for sizing on these guys, I did go with the US 10, which in Barefoot Shoe World is equivalent to a 43. So I typically wear a 10.5 in US sizing and a 43 in most Barefoot shoe size. So this size is a US 10 43 EU, and it fits my foot absolutely perfectly. Now, one maybe small downfall is I have noticed, and I don't know if this was like this at the beginning, I'll have to actually go back to the footage I took of these on the unboxing to see, but I have noticed that the little bit of stack height through a bunch of toe off activities has kind of created a little bit of toe spring at the distal end. It's definitely not much, and that would be really my only other flaw, is just the slight development of toe spring alongside of just the not quite as aesthetic colorway. That's really my only two complaints or nitpicky things out of this shoe itself. Everything else is extremely satisfying. I've actually been recommending this shoe to a lot more people who are in their transitionary phase or just a little bit more tender-footed because of the added stack height, because a little bit more cushion there. It does ease away the harshness that most barefoot style shoes do have. To me, this is a great, if you're on your feet all day, if you're relatively new to minimalist style shoes, if you're just trying to work your way into the minimalist world, this is a great transitionary shoe. Bahe did just release a new hiking boot and their new sandal, both which have their new grounding technology. Maybe they're going to reach out and send me a pair of the sandals or the boots in the future. We shall see. If they do end up sending those, then I will definitely be filming a review for those, so stay tuned. One thing I do want to preface is that Bahe does offer a different running shoe that is not zero drop minimalist. They just offer that shoe. I believe it does have the grounding technology, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes you do need a little bit more of an assistive shoe to carry you a little bit further into your distance. But for me, I'm always going to opt for optimal function versus that assistive capability. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's review of the Bahe Revive Barefoot Style Runner. If you do plan on grabbing yourself a pair, be sure to use that discount code BarefootWill, no spaces, at checkout to get your discount of 10%. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.